Bienvenidos, bienvenidas, buenos días chiquis, ¿cómo estamos? Me acabo de levantar hace un rato nada más. Bueno, tampoco recién, pero hace un rato me estaba por tomar unos mates, empezar el día tranqui, chill, hacer unos trámites y después arrancar a preparar lo que viene siendo el directo del día de hoy, martes. Y me encuentro con esto. Los directores creativos responden a tus preguntas, what the fuck, y Orange son... ¿Qué? ¿Y por qué en esa foto aparece el señor Roberto Carlos Jenkins? Si se había ido, nos había dejado, hizo todo el drama, lloramos todos y volvió ahora. Me cago en todo. Bueno, no pasa nada, vamos a verlo, vamos a reaccionar porque además tenemos acá. Dice, leadership question, o sea, preguntas de liderazgo. Bueno, supongo que dirá a ver quién queda a cargo. Roadmap questions, algo del mapa, pregunta. Suggestion contents, que es básicamente recomendaciones para contenido. Lore, todos saben lo que es el lore, que el juego tiene lore, aunque mucha gente piensa que no, pero lo tiene, pasa que no está explotado. PvE, bueno, PvE necesita bastante ayuda. Y User Interface. Bueno, así que vamos con esto. Vamos a empezar a ver qué pasa con todo esto, qué quieren decir, qué nos quieren contar. Espero que esté bien el volumen. Está todo bien ahí. Está el activar Windows. Me la suda. Vamos.
Hello and welcome to another Albion online questions and answers video. In my last
ruido de mate.
I announced that I would be stepping down as
claro, y te fuiste y todo drama.
I asked you to bring your questions and comments.
Sí.
Today I've invited new game director Moritz Bockermann and co-creative director Michael Schwan to go through these questions with me and to bring some answers to you.
Dale.
So let's get started. The first comment is, keep making those question and answer videos, even if you're not the CEO anymore. You are still the public face of Albion Online. Well, as you can see, I am making a question and answer video. I do hope that I am no longer the face of Albion Online, though I do hope to transition this role to these guys. And while I will still be appearing in videos, Dev Talks will be handled by them.
And ideally also...
Bueno, para el que no lo sepa, Robin Jenkins fue la cara de Albion durante muchos años y dio un paso al costado por temas familiares supuestamente, lo cual es entendible, hace más de 10 años que está ahí y bueno, evidentemente por lo que él decía trabajaba mucho, a lo que yo le diría que venga a trabajar a Argentina una jornada laboral de 8 horas y va a entender que no. Pero igualmente es entendible, no nacieron en Argentina, así que no tienen por qué tener ese sentimiento de extra explotación. Pero bueno, yo quiero una de estas remeras. ¿Por qué no me dan una de estas remeras? Usos, por favor.
Also more members of the team, yeah.
Next question. With the role of creative director now being split between 3 people, a creative council, do you think that it'll be harder to maintain a clear theme or vision for Albion's creative direction?
Buena pregunta.
What do you guys think?
No, actually, I don't think we will see any major changes.
¿Para dónde va el juego?
This whole transition has been made with continuity in mind. We've been with the team for many years. Each and every one of us that is part of this creative council has been here for 5+ years.
Esto es una cosa que hablamos en directo y para mí es una gran decisión que a veces las empresas se equivocan muchísimo. Y es básicamente cuando tenés un lugar, hay unos shorts de un chico que hace unos dibujos y se ríe mucho bueno, hay unas tipo Karens, unas y unos Karens, ambientes laborales, y cuando en una empresa se abre una vacante para un jefe o algo y traen gente de afuera, y eso es un error muy grande. Vos tenés que entrenar gente desde abajo y prepararla para el futuro, y es lo mejor porque, a ver, básicamente tenés que seguir una línea. Albion Online ha cambiado, ha sido vendido a otra empresa, pero igualmente tiene, el juego tiene un core, entonces lo más responsable me parece dentro de todo, para que esta gente siga siendo y sea respetada, y yo qué sé, y su trabajo sea respetado, mantener la espina dorsal de la idiosincrasia del juego de acá a algunos años. Puede cambiar evidentemente alguna que otra cosa, ha cambiado el juego muchas cosas, pero si se mantiene la gente, yo creo que vamos a tener todavía el corazón de lo que es la esencia de Albion.
We've all had our ideas turned into features with and by the team. We've built upon ideas of you, Robin, and of course of each other. And so I'm pretty confident that this will not be a really big shift in direction from our part, just because we have this practice and working together already. All the individual contributors that work with us stay largely the same. So really the team that is going to be working on Albion remains intact, and so that will of course also really shape how this game continues to move forward in the direction that it has been going in the last couple of months and years.
All right, planning question.
Bueno, hasta acá resumen, no dijeron un carajo, o sea, se hicieron un poco los boludos con la pregunta. Vamos a ver si se ponen un poco los pantalones largos y contestan algo, porque es muy ambiguo hasta ahora. No tengo ninguna respuesta de todas las preguntas que tenía yo y que te dejaron ahí.
With the rumored orange zones, is the team planning on leaning further away from the full loot aspect of the game?
No.
It's kind of a two-parter. The first part.
What are orange zones?
Exactly. Let me say something about that. So it is indeed true. We are currently playtesting a version of orange zones in a hell-themed dungeon that we're working on.
Well, let's straighten out. It's not true. There's no such thing as an orange zone. There's not going to be an orange zone in the game, right?
Oh, ¿cómo que no?
There's going to be one dungeon in which a particular rule set applies.
Opa! Exactly. So cuidado.
Looking to find out whether it's feasible is we're working on this hell-themed dungeon, and a PvP risk rule set that would behave somewhere in between.
Hasta luego a todas las especulaciones. No hay zona naranja. Van a haber unas específicas dungeons naranjas. Ok, bueno. Quizá mejor todavía.
Yellow and red zones, where when you die, you in fact die, but instead of losing everything, you lose only your inventory, but your equipped items remain on your character. And we're testing exclusively in this type of dungeon. I say testing because we're sending this through playtest. We're not sure we're going to do this, but the chance is there, and really we
lo van a hacer.
To move away from the full loot aspect of Albion. Albion is a full loot PvP game, and we always believe that the high end of PvP is going to be full loot. However, we need to transition people from very risk-free knockdown PvP to get to that point at some point. And we believe that there is potential in this type of content in orange zones that softens the transition from knockdown to
Me parece razonable.
And this dungeon is really now the first opportunity that we have in the game to really make use of that. Most of the other content that we've had before doesn't really utilize that kind of rule set well. Our current implementation of Hellgates or corrupted dungeons, you really get all the loot at the end. So by that point, having this kind of rule set just doesn't make sense anymore. And we also have no current plans to broaden the scope of this rule set. Right now, it's for this dungeon type, we plan to use it there. We're testing it right now. If it succeeds and players like it, we might think about doing more, but there's no plans right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's worth adding that this comes as a reaction to many years of experience with full loot PvP combat, especially in instanced controlled scenarios, right?
Because la traducción está medio en la verga.
As a result of our conversations about Hellgates and the challenges that they face, and what we learned is that the more controlled a PvP environment is, and therefore the more predictable it is for the players, the more difficult it is to actually have full loot PvP, because essentially the winners will remain in that content.
Claro.
People who lose will be driven out of that content, which makes...
Exactamente mi manera de pensarlo. Hay mucha gente que se enoja con esto. No, pero ¿querés hacerlo más family friendly? Un poco sí. Porque realmente, voy a poner mi ejemplo. Yo estoy empezando en el camino del PvP y me estoy gastando más o menos en las últimas. Está bien, no soy acá una persona con las manos prodigiosas de yo que sé, de falla o alguno de estos, pero me llevo gastando, la gente lo ve en los directos, arranqué a todo este camino, evidentemente he gastado otras cosas, he invertido, he crafteado, etcétera, pero arranqué con 300 millones y tengo 110 ahora, y más o menos se me deben haber ido ahí unos 80 millones en 3 semanas, 2 semanas, y es así. Matás, morís, y yo me divierto mucho, pero hay gente que no tiene 80 millones porque acaba de empezar el juego, entonces tiene que ir, equiparse, estar una semana, farmear, o lo que sea, sin specs, porque la gente se manda a hacer PvP sin specs. Entonces, pierde todo, va, de nuevo. Quiero hacer me gusta este contenido del juego, pero tarda un montón. Perdón, y tardan 15 días. Ya me voy, listo, me voy a jugar otra cosa, me voy a jugar Wargame, me voy a jugar... que no sé cómo será, la verdad lo jugué poquito, no sé si tiene full loot, creo que no. Me voy a jugar otra cosa, o sea, todo ese desgaste. Entonces, una zona intermedia para que la gente pueda ir acoplándose y no sea tan violento y no pierda todo y se vaya y dejen... Mi visión es básicamente porque el juego me encanta, como creo que toda la gente, o sea, esto no es de fanboy, te gusta el juego, si no te gusta lo dejas. Basta de drama, maduren, loco, basta del juego está muerto, maduren un poco, chicos, porque es terrible. Entonces, quiero que haya más gente, evidentemente, no quiero ver las ciudades vacías, no quiero ser acá, ¿cómo se llama este pibe de Suele Benji? Acá estamos en Marlo, que hay 3 personas. Mentira, amigo, no hay 3, hay siempre 300 personas, 200 personas y es un quilombo, no te dejan ni farmear. Pero bueno, a lo sumo que metan un par de mapas más para que la gente se disperse un poco, o yo qué sé, no sé, que pongan, no sé, HOs en zona roja para que se disperse un poco y podamos ir a zona negra un poco más tranquilo, estén todos ahí concentrados, no sé, algo que motiven un poco a hacer otros contenidos también, no solamente full loot en zona negra y zona roja, porque siempre es lo más competido y que haya más gente haciendo arenas y que no estés media hora buscando una party en arenas, o haya más gente haciendo HCE, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Pero me parece que lo más razonable es no castigar tanto a la gente que está empezando y le gusta y viene al juego a hacer PvP y está perfecto y quiere llegar al full loot. Pero vos tenés que llevar un camino, bueno, podés el primer día mandarte a zona negra y el juego, me parece que está bien que no te lleven de la mano, porque a mí no me gusta que me lleven de la mano me gusta en algunos juegos y en otros juegos no, en Albion no me gusta. En otros juegos me gusta que tenga, mira, hace esto y esto de punto A al punto B, perfecto. En Albion no me gusta, pero si está bueno, que no sea tan violento para todos en un principio. Después sí, por supuesto, cuando tenés una base económica, porque Albion es así, sépanlo, si no tienen esa base económica no van a poder jugar nada, chicos. Tienen que invertir primero en specs y después ir a pelear. Si no te van a matar, aunque te pongas un 8.4. Pero bueno, eso es mi visión.
The pool of players smaller, then again you have winners amongst that pool, those remain, and then eventually the feature just reduces to a very small player base.
Claro.
That are amongst the elite, and that means it's also really hard to recruit any players into features like that, and therefore we're experimenting now with a new type of controlled environment, controlled PvP environment, which has a rather high degree of predictability, but also has a little bit better risk management for the...
Todo esto sin mencionar siquiera los problemas grandes que tiene la enfermedad grande que tiene Albion, que son los hackers y son los radares y toda esta mierda que ya me ha pasado a mí varias veces. Que crees que estás haciendo un PvP, por ejemplo, legal y justo, como el otro día nos pasó, éramos, no sé, bueno, estaba en directo, puede ser también un snipeo. Éramos 8 contra 8 y de repente éramos 8 contra 17. Entonces, eso que te dividen una mazmorra de la nada, porque de repente aparecen y no hay nadie, y de repente aparece una party. ¿De dónde salió esta gente? Entonces, también esto es un poquito injusto, entonces hay que tener cuidado con eso. Cuando uno dice, no, tienen que todos ir a hacer PvP y full loot. Sí, perfecto, dale. Y las bases y el environment, el ambiente y el contexto, se la come sin pretexto. Bueno, todo eso importa.
Players. It doesn't affect the open world at all. Next question.
Entre otras cosas.
When will we have a new feature? I mean, like tier 9 maps, tier 9 pickups, and their respective items.
Currently there's no plans for TN or anything. At the moment, we never know in the future if we might do, but generally we like to expand our items. I think that's what he was referring to, is mostly more horizontally, like we give you more options instead of just straight up more power. I wouldn't exclude that we would never do T9, we never know, but at the moment we don't have any plans for that.
Ok, nada.
I mean, in reality, we essentially have Tier 9 and
with
beyond with
enchantments.
enchantments, with awakened items.
Sí, bueno,
Yeah.
pero no.
And if you're asking in terms of, if the player is asking in terms of challenge or new content, do you have anything for them there?
Well, there will be new content available in every one of the next coming updates. A fully new feature is very soon gonna drop with this aforementioned PvEVP dungeon that is targeted at groups of 2s and 3s. Then
A ver.
I know it'll break the idea of sandbox, but Questline would be a good addition.
Misiones.
Question asks for a Questline storyline in a traditional way of a theme park MMORPG or something comparable. And, well, we also think it would be a good idea for some players.
Sí. No para la mayoría.
But the big question is how.
Claro.
And that's something we've been thinking about, because we don't want to
Obligar.
break the focus on player-driven economy, full PvP, guild warfare.
Claro.
All of those things need to stay highly relevant. And at the same time, if you introduce a PvE experience and a storyline, it also needs to feel relevant. And finding a way where we're not taking away resources from the main production and the main focus of the game. So we're probably talking about adding resources for dedicated to storyline. All of that is, I can share things we've been talking about and where we're excited about the idea, but we haven't finalized the perfect plan for it yet.
Okay.
Because it's quite challenging to weave.
De todas formas, el diario de misiones es un poco eso, así que no estamos tan lejos.
Into
No es obligatorio.
fabric of Albion Online, which was really meant as a PvP focused, guild focused game initially, and we're inching closer and closer to a good idea of how to do this. And when we have a good idea, there's nothing standing in the way of going, let's do it.
Okay.
We're committed. Next question. You are going to work on expanding Albion world and story.
Ay, ojalá.
What does that mean? Any chance for new enemies, factions, cities,
Oof.
locations, biomes? Okay. So what I'm actually working on is pulling together all the different lore that has been
Él
developed
lo está haciendo
over the
él.
years.
Mira.
You might not be fully aware, but
No dijo estamos trabajando, dijo estoy trabajando.
whenever we develop a new enemy, a new dungeon, a new feature, there is a backstory to it. We need this backstory for a common understanding with the arts team and the design team to kind of put a visual to the feature.
Claro.
So there's always lore being developed in the background, but it's never explicitly or rarely explicitly told in the game. And I've been pulling together all this lore, and over the years a lot of contradictions have appeared, a lot of things might seem outdated now. So at the moment we're kind of establishing a common ground again and making sure that everything has a very solid foundation and we know how everything fits into the lore. And this is a preparation for us to be able to tell anything about this game or about this world in the future. Which is super cool. I mean, we've done so much work in the background in the past that has never seen the light of day, and I think there is a really exciting world and exciting reasons for the factions in Albion to be the way that they are. And we're also laying the groundwork for some possible future expansions. In a way, it's a bit similar if anybody plays tabletop RPGs. It's a bit similar to building like a campaign book for the world, with building a lot of breadcrumbs that the development team can then later on pick up and be like, oh, maybe we want to go do this and maybe do this. So there's a lot more room than we will possibly ever manage to get to. But that's cool. We have lots of opportunities. So yes, there's definitely the chance for new enemies, new factions, new cities, new locations, new biomes. All of that is in the lore. It's just a question of when do we package it into an expansion that satisfies all Albion players, right?
When and how.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about PvE. PvE is something that can absolutely make use of lore and story and history.
Oh, sí, claro. Evidentemente, necesita mucho lore.
We have a lot of players that are excited by exploration and discovering story elements, and Albion, in our minds, has not enough of that yet, and we have a lot of cool things that, as you say, that we have as developers, but that otherwise nobody else knows, and it would be great to be able to tell that story. So we're really excited about that.
Absolutely. Next question. Will they continue the Albion lore online? Will we learn anything about dragons? Pets, marriage, etc.
Pets,
stone-based weapons. Lots of different questions here.
Estas son mis ideas, me las robaron, porque yo puse esto en un video hace no mucho tiempo. En una DEV TALK. Dragones, me parece que va perfectamente con el lore. Las mascotas. Lo hablamos ayer en directo, el domingo que hicimos un 12 horas, gracias a todos. Fuimos una banda de gente todo el fucking día, hermoso, espectacular. Me olvidé de agradecerles, chicos, muchas gracias a todos. Hablamos de esto, de las mascotas, lo que viene siendo joyería, una especie un poquito más de tipo diablo. Me parece una gran idea, pero bueno, vamos a ver qué dicen.
So, first off,
bueno, de darle una nueva vida a la piedra, de dónde ponerla, en qué arma ponerlo, en qué monturas utilizarla para que valga algo.
Or that's published online. We'll probably see a revision at some point after we finished going through the backstory development and aligning it with everybody on the team. There's some really cool but old stuff there that in parts is not fully aligned with what the team's been doing. So that will at some point see a revision, but we also don't want to spoil anything that we could reveal in the content of a future PvE campaign. So we'll see about that. Will we learn anything about dragons? Well, if we ever get to tell the backstory of Albion, we'll certainly learn something about dragons. That's something for another day. Will they add pets? Well, that's a feature question. Will you add pets?
Yes. Not committed to anything, but we have been talking about maybe pets to islands specific that you can.
Nah, no es eso lo que yo quiero, boludo.
It sounds interesting.
We're tossing ideas back and forth. As Micha says, no full commitment to a timeline, but this is something that players repeatedly keep asking for, and we don't want to ignore that. And I mean, we play games in which we have pets, and it's likely that this will be in the future.
A ver, básicamente la idea que tenemos nosotros es una pequeña mascotita que no haga una gran diferencia, pero que sea algo divertido cuando haces PvE solitario, sobre todo, o PvP mano a mano, uno contra uno, que te ayude un poco, que te cure un poquito, que te dé un pequeño busteito y nada más. No una cosa de loco. Puede ser un necrófago, puede ser un perro, puede ser un pequeño golem, puede ser algo así. No sé si se les ocurre algo más, déjenmelo en comentarios, pero me parece que algo sería interesante. No que rompa el juego, no que se pueda usar en ZBZ, porque son 80 personas contra 90, 500 personas y te explota lo que sea, o sea, no se puede. Pero algo así, chill, me gustaría.
So the next part of this question is marriages. Well, we've supported marriages in a way for a long time, and out of a bride's outfit and a groom's outfit.
Sí, pero mucho furro.
Most of that, in my opinion, is role playing. So if you want to do that, you can role play. We don't have any plans for a formal marriage system.
No, roleplay se puede, cuidado,
not that game, I think. All right. Next question. We hope that these directors can actually fight the game's rats.
Sí, lo hablamos antes.
Will do everything to improve crafting. Okay.
There's no big. It would be helpful to know which rats and which content you mean, because there's some content types where it is a big problem.
Los scouts.
Static dungeons is one where it's actually something we have on the radar that we need to
Ay,
improve
sí,
the rules
Dios
there
mío.
because people can steal the chest too easily as a solo and it's not really working well as a group. PvE, PvP setting. But in general, in the whole game, if players can escape and have chances...
No creo que se trate de eso,
It's actually a good thing in our mind because that you
Cuando hablamos de ratas hablamos de scouts, hablamos de radar, hablamos de este tipo de cosas. También lo que pasa en estática es que se mete uno y te matan los bichos y no pelea la gente y te matan, o sea... Está bien que es inteligente, o sea, hay que reconocérselo. Hay gente que es muy inteligente y tiene ese nivel de... Bueno, no sé si inteligente, o sea, rata. Pero... Sobre todo radar y scouts, que está lleno de scouts.
usually helps keeping this content alive if players have a chance to participate without the need to killing someone. If they can some rewards and get away and that's their strategy and they can have some success, that really helps to populate a feature. However, if they are too successful or dominate certain areas, that another playstyle is then undermined, like static dungeons.
Next question. Hey guys, wondering when we will see the open world change for skulls on the minimap when you have a legitimate 1 versus 1. I understand why you would have skulls pop onto the map with group fights, but a 1 versus 1 should stay hidden in my opinion. Wondering what the new directors think of this.
Agree. We will make that change.
¿Cómo?
Suggesting, soon. I don't know when it goes live, but the change.
Esperen.
The new directors think of.
O sea, básicamente pregunta ¿cuándo quitarán las calaveras por el mano a mano en PvP? O sea, ¿qué quiere dejar las calaveras cuando hay peleas grupales? Yo como farmer no me gusta esta idea.
Agree. We will
No.
make that change that he's suggesting soon. I don't know when it goes live, but the change will be that if you kill one person without an assist, we will not show this.
Bueno, está bien, bueno, sí.
Because of what he says, because as a solo player, then it's a signal to everyone that just comes and they eat you alive. And
Claro, esto es cierto.
to allow even 1v1s in the open world, we will make the change he is suggesting.
Next
Interesante
question.
modificación, sí.
I've been one. Next question. Fix the UI system on islands such as hire labor a plant crop, harvest a crop. There should be an option to harvest all key and
Sí,
plant
por favor, por favor.
Yeah, totally see it. I mean, Micha just mentioned potentially adding pets to islands. That's not the only thing that we think about when we think about island improvements. Laborers is one of the other things that we absolutely want to touch. Farming generally is one thing we want to touch.
Al fin.
We have a long list of ideas. We're in the process of detailing those ideas into something that we can actually tie together into a feature and then, or into a feature set and release with one of the next updates.
Ok.
It's difficult to put a concrete timeline on it because we haven't put the feature set together yet, but there's really a lot of people in the team that want to see improvements there, and so we do too. So yeah, I think players can expect some improvements coming their
Nice,
way.
me gusta.
In
Modificaciones a las
updates
islas.
Yeah.
in the near
Y
future.
si no leyeron, bueno, básicamente arreglar todo lo que tiene que ver con la cosecha de cultivos y hacerlo de una y más rápido y bueno, perfecto, me gusta.
Yeah, I mean, that said, I think there has to be a conversation also about the definition of what is farming, what is the effort I'm putting into farming, right? Because of course you could imagine all of farming being reduced to a single button press, but
Bueno,
then
eso
what
es verdad,
would be the
pero-
meaning of being a farmer if there's no time investment into this activity? It
También
would
es cierto
basically be
eso,
a massive income source together with premium.
También es cierto,
so,
sí.
you know, stream
Nunca lo había visto de esa manera, pero claro, vos tenés un método económico que pasaría de ser una inversión de tiempo, como todos los demás, como puede ser el PvE, como puede ser el PvP, aunque el PvP es un método económico un poco voluble, o el farmeo, crafteo, etcétera, y de repente pasarías a hacerlo automáticamente. Nunca lo había pensado de esta forma y es cierto, y yo tengo mis islas y me toca bastante las pelotas cuando tengo que pasar una hora dando la vuelta porque tengo como 8 islas, y cuando me decido porque me da terrible pereza. Es un tiempo, es una inversión, y claro, vos de ahí sacas tu silver, y es un silver que ya de por sí es un silver asegurado porque no atraviesa ningún tipo de filtro de peligro. Entonces pasarías a hacerlo automáticamente, y no lo había pensado así. En realidad yo, ahora que lo veo y lo estoy analizando, no sé si quisiera que pase esto, porque habría mucha gente con 55 islas que automáticamente tendría una generación de dinero muy potente, que igual la tiene, pero sería aún peor. Entonces, no lo sé. Ahora, mira, estaba tan seguro de que quería esto, y cómo somos, y ahora que lo veo, no sé, porque creo que puede ser quizás algo perjudicial, a lo mejor. Tendría que pensarlo un poco más.
There's good reasons to streamline a UI, but there's also it needs to be the more you streamline it, the more you need to have a conversation. Okay, what is being a farmer then if it's just a button press? I heard this is the last batch of crystal weapons that
Sí,
just
supuestamente.
released. Does that mean no new hammer and shapeshifter?
Oh, ahí está.
No, of course there's a new hammer and a
Ah, ¿sí?
crystal weapon that will be part of the rewards of the currently running season.
Opa, no sé si están, espero que estén leyendo porque está ahí, ¿no? Pero la gente está muy nerviosa porque no va a haber cambia formas de cristal. Aparentemente sí. Ellos habían dicho que eran la última tirada de armas de cristal, pero parece que no. Así que cuidado, y también de un martillo.
I don't know where this rumor started.
Well, and beyond that, we also have plans to add crystal offhands. So we're not
¿Cómo?
quite done with crystal weapons yet.
Segundas manos de cristal, lo que hablamos el otro día en el directo.
It is true that they are nearing the end of their production line, if you want to call it that, and we'll then think about what we do after that.
All right, perfect. Next question. When will legendary weapons be worked on, or is it going to hit the back burner with the new creative direction?
No, that's still something we're talking about. We have been, they have been pushed aside a bit because the recent year was also very busy with our short update cycle. We didn't have really time to flesh these ideas out.
Armas
But,
legendarias.
we're actually already working on concepts for how we can introduce them.
Next question. Will this game
Ooh.
ever come to console?
Algo de eso había escuchado.
We've
yo.
always believed that Albion, in its pinnacle, can be a true cross-platform experience that would include consoles as well. There's a lot of challenges to overcome on the way there. Making an MMORPG for consoles is quite a challenge. Typically, controllers aren't as good at navigating UIs, etc. So this is something that we really believe if we want to do it, we want to do it right. So there's a lot of setup that we want to think about first, that we want to do the research on, that we want to see if we can get it all done. There's also the store integration, like getting it onto the consoles itself. Microsoft for Xbox and Sony for the PlayStation, they have quite different store setups as well. So there's like really things that we have to research there. But ultimately, we would like to have Albion run on a console and make it available to players on consoles. That's something that we feel.
Estaría interesante eso, es todo un nuevo
maybe
mundo.
It's worth adding that the way we think about it is the same way that we've thought about the other platform extension, which is mobile. We set up Albion from the very beginning to be expandable to different platforms, but we also didn't want the expansions to get in the way of them. Please make a cape backpack that reduces crop weights.
Bueno.
I mean, we talked about Island
Muy específico.
revamping before.
Estaría bien igual,
Is
Básicamente una capa o una bolsa que reduzca el peso de los cultivos. Es algo muy específico, te pones una buena montura y ya está, amigo. Pero bueno, también para transportar, es cierto, podría hacerse algo así.
essentially one of the economic activities that you could do in the game. The gathering activities all have their gathering gear. We don't have something
Claro.
for farming. I don't think it's outlandish to think that we might want to have that as well. We don't have details. We know that we would like to have it. We would have to spec out those details, and in the line of what I talked about before, putting a feature set together for an island rework or island extension. We would definitely also think about this and see if it's opportune, and then we would potentially add this as well.
All right, that
Bueno.
was all the questions and comments we had time for today. Thank you very much for sending them in, and keep them coming. I hope we were able to show that there really isn't that much of a difference between the way that these guys handle things and I handled things. And we can all now be excited to see where they're taking the game in the next couple of months. Stay tuned for more dev talks coming on this channel. Thank you for listening and see you soon.
La música, la música. No me pusieron la música, ¿qué carajo les pasa? Bueno, muchas cosas, gente, muchas cosas. Mucho hablar de islas, modificaciones futuras que no van a ser pronto, pero evidentemente parece que lo tienen en carpeta. He visto mucha cintura de estos dos muchachos. No has contestado de manera concreta a demasiadas cosas, pero hay un poquito, ahí hay que analizarlo y separar todo. Armas legendarias, por lo que vi. Yo creí que estaban por otro lado ya terminado todo lo que tiene que ver con las armas de cristal y parece que no, todo lo contrario. No sé para qué dijeron que eran las últimas dos, no entiendo. Falta aparentemente, por lo que se viene, un martillo de cristal y un cambia forma de cristal, lo cual va a romper todo el fucking juego de nuevo y lo van a tener que nerfear eventualmente, así que no sé para qué lo meten, porque vienen nerfeando las armas de cambia forma todos los parches, así que no entiendo. ¿Qué más? Bueno, cambios en el lore. Aparentemente él está enfocado en reorganizar todo lo que tiene que ver con el lore, las guías que están subidas en Albion. Hay un libro de Albion Online, para aquel que no lo sepa. Algún día voy a hacer un resumen, algún día lo leeré, pero bueno, qué paja, Dios mío. Eso, déjenme en comentarios qué les parece, qué creen que va a pasar con Albion de acá a un par de años. Me gusta que siga, como decíamos antes, la espina dorsal y la línea de pensamiento, la filosofía del juego, a pesar de que va a recibir modificaciones. También hablamos o escuchamos hablar de una posibilidad de tener Albion en consolas, así que bueno, eso sería increíble. Realmente yo no tengo PlayStation 4 o 5, pero me gustaría en algún momento jugarlo ahí. Y bueno, muchas cosas más. Déjenme en comentarios qué les parecen. Dejen su like, por supuesto. Nos vemos en un rato en directo. No sé cuándo subiré esto, espero subirlo rapidito. Y nada, like, comentarios, suscríbanse. Y nos vemos y les mando un besito. Yo fui Alquimista y nos vemos en un próximo video de Albion Online.